This is Pam from NortheastWheelsEvents.com at the 2019 Carlisle Imports. Their featured car this year is the Citroen. They're celebrating the 100th anniversary of Citroen. And if you've never seen a Cit, you have got to get into these cars. They're just that wild. And we're lucky that we've got Carl here who's giving us a good tour of Building Y with all the specials. We're going to start over here with the 50 Citroen Traction Avant. And this is an 11BL.
Yes.
So do tell me about the...
Okay. Traction Avant was the first really revolutionary car that Citroen brought out. They've been in business since 1919. That's why we're having the 100th anniversary now. And their cars were pretty much like other people's cars up until 1939. If I were to describe André Citroen in one sentence, the Henry Ford of France. And they became business associates. They visited each other at the factory. So the first really revolutionary car, the Citroen Traction Avant, which in French means drive front, front wheel drive. The Traction Avant came out in 1934, was built all the way to 1957. Understand the longevity of that was because of the Second World War break, and there were no cars were built. And then after the war, France was just trying to build the country back up, and they weren't building new cars. This is a very reliable car. So there are three different models, actually four different models of the Traction Avant. When it first came out, it was 7CV, which means 7 horsepower.
Well, that's the French taxation of horsepower.
Yes, exactly. Most French cars did not have big engines, as well as a lot of other European cars, because the more horsepower you had, the more it cost you every year to register. So when it first came out, it was 7CV, which stands for Chevaux Vapeur, steam horsepower. So this model here is called the Légère, which in French means light. It is a little shorter and a little narrower than the next body style, which is across the way here, and that's the Normal. Same word in English and French.
Now,
Normal.
these are unibody?
Yes, thank you. Okay, world's first mass-produced front-wheel drive, unibody construction.
Nope.
The two together.
Cord, L29.
Not mass-produced. Okay, they made a few thousand of them.
Yeah.
They made 750,000 of these.
Over how many years?
Over 23 years.
Over 23 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I stress mass-produced.
Okay.
Unibody, front-wheel drive.
Right.
Individual torsion bar suspension. Rack and pinion steering, not immediately, but about 2 years after it came out. A wet sleeve engine. It's also the first production car modeled in clay. And it is the reason why Michelin developed the radial tire, because of its low profile. It will go around a corner faster than anything else without rolling over. So
Now, Michelin bought in, we were just discussing this earlier, Michelin bought the company in 1935.
1935, yes. André Citroen spent so much money developing this car that he was going broke. He was building a new car, and he tore the factory down and put it back together all at the same time he was building this car. He was almost bankrupt, and he was very ill. He died of stomach cancer a year after this car came out.
Oh my.
And the French government asked Michelin to take over the company. And they owned it from 35 until 1976, when they got in trouble again financially. Peugeot bought the controlling interest, eventually owned the whole company, and they owned it until, Peugeot, it's the PSA Corporation.
Correct.
And people are always asking me, when did they stop making Citroen? They still
make them.
And they're very big worldwide. Depending on which scale you look at, they're the 9th or 10th largest manufacturer
Now,
in the world.
These had Hemis?
Yes. Yeah, Chrysler hollers about their Hemi engines, but this was the Hemi engine. It's a straight inline engine. Came in either 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder. 4-cylinder first was 7CV, then it became 11CV, and then the 6-cylinder was 15CV.
Now these have 4-speed shifted from the dashboard?
3-speed.
3-speed shifted from the dashboard?
They really all have 4.
Yeah.
And the steering, the gear shift lever comes right out of the dash.
Very good. Well, let's go over here to the Normal. You can see the size difference right there.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
As you look, you almost have to have the two cars together to see the difference. They're basically the same size, but the Normal is a longer body, and it's also a little bit wider.
That's beautiful. You can really see a difference there.
Yeah, I'll give you too much information about tractions because I own one. This is my 15 CB here.
And that's the 6-cylinder.
6-cylinder, right?
Très bien.
When I was a young teenager in the U.S. Army in France, I had a car exactly like this.
Oh my.
Same year, same model, same headlights, same steering wheel, which most of them don't have.
Could you show us? So that you could open the door
there
for
are
us?
some pictures of me with my car in Europe on my billboard there.
Let's go over and
You've
see.
been going to Saratoga for a long time, I see by these slides.
No, since 2000. Not 2009 was the first
Oh,
one.
yeah?
Yes.
Was those,
Repairing, of course.
what are the shows in front of the museum?
Oh, you want to see the interior?
If you'd be so kind, yes.
Not at all. Oh, I got so much junk.
There's the unique steering wheel. And I want to show you the shifter. See the shifter coming out? Comes straight out of the dashboard. That is wild. Now look how beautiful the interior is. How expensive were these cars?
At the time, they were not a really super high price car, especially the Leger model.
So Europe is a little bit more pronounced. I also notice, of course, how deep the seats are. That is a typical Citroen trait.
Yeah. This is a nice car. It's not near as comfortable as the DS.
Oh, DS is the best. Absolute best. We're
are-
talking about the DS, so let's go over here.
Yes, the DS. The only difference
goddess.
you see in the models of the DS for the average person looking at them is when they first came out, they had single headlights, and later on they had dual headlights. So this is an early one. I forget.
Very early.
1961. This car is owned by one of two Citroen mechanics in the entire eastern part of the United States.
Active Citroen
Active,
mechanics.
yes.
Because I used to work on them, so I'm taking exception on that.
Okay.
Now the DS came out in '55, correct?
Oh, thank you. Yes, the DS was made from 1955 to 1975. Now, the unique things about the DS are foremost the hydro pneumatic or oleo pneumatic suspension. I think it should really be called oleo gas because there are no springs or shock absorbers on this car. There are elliptical shaped spheres in it that have a special kind of mineral oil in the bottom and a diaphragm in between and nitrogen gas in the top. And the bottom one and the top one are used just to change the tire. There's no jack for this car. There's just a jack stand. You raise the suspension all the way up, and you put this jack stand in the fitting on the rocker panel. Then you lower the suspension, and both the wheels on that side come off.
Oh, we'll go over that in a few minutes because you got a great demo here, and people won't believe all this stuff. Let me do a walkabout on this. Okay. Now, please note again, 1955. Nothing is new. If you notice the aerodynamic styling on the car has a complete belly pan. It's front-wheel drive, Hemi 4-cylinder. Okay, radial tires, 1955. Keep this in mind. That is a plastic roof panel, light alloy roof panel. You've got light alloy fittings throughout on the panels. We will show you the inside in a few minutes. I just want to pull back. You notice the high tail lights, the turn signals, just like what we have today with raised. We have the interactive hydropneumatic suspension, as Carl was explaining to us, which, by the way, is so fine, Rolls-Royce actually licensed the system and used it on their cars. And again, this is all in the 1955 Citroen ID19. It came in two forms, ID and DS, DS being the more expensive, ID being the lesser. These cars were absolutely amazing. Let's check out the demo car. This will show you what Carl was talking about with the jack stands and such. Plus, I could show you the mechanics of it. You see the jack stands right below the wheel? That's where you would put the jack.
Yeah, just for the front.
You would raise the suspension all the way, put the the stand right over there, and then lower the suspension. It pulls the wheel right up. Now we're also talking about the hydropneumatics. That is the reservoir. It's run off of a 7-cylinder pump, which pressurizes the whole system. Each wheel has a sphere as well as one for the accumulator. I'm going to hop the fence in a minute. Oh, there we go. Gotcha. You can see one of the, thank you. You can see one of the accumulators right over there for the pressure regulation. There's the accumulator for the right front wheel. Let me point out the pump. There's the pump right down there. Okay, you can notice there's a Hemi 4-cylinder in there. There's the jack stand. Thank you. Perfect. The you notice the pins over here? That's where the front fender actually goes on. The fenders are released with one bolt. What's intriguing is the hubcaps, well, they used to have one center bolt, which you would remove with your lug wrench. Take the hubcap off, same size bolt would unbolt your lugs, which originally was 3 but then went to 4 because of the US regulations. Here are the rear pins. The pins go right into the fender, right there and there, and the back is held on by one single bolt. Again, you see the aerodynamics on through. Oh, the whole car is just, I love the spaciousness of this.
Can I add something?
Yeah, oh, please, please, please.
Okay, the hydraulic system on this car, it uses a special fluid called LHM. In French, it's liquide hydraulique minéral. And the hydraulic system operates not only the suspension, but the automatically operated clutch. There is no clutch pedal on this car. Also the gear shift level, the power steering, and the power brakes.
Oh, yeah.
If you can see the button on the floor.
I'll show, yes, I forgot about the button.
Okay.
This is great, folks. Check this out. Another thing with the LHM is actually not a petroleum-based product, but mineral oil. You can see the button there. There's absolutely no play with your, I get it in. There's no play with the button. You figure, oh my gosh, there's absolutely no play with the brake pedal. You get used to it so quick, it's remarkable. This car is a manual transmission, so you do have a clutch. It is a hydraulic clutch. If you notice the steering wheel, one single spoke. Well, it's cute. It is power steering. As Carl said, powered by the same system. At park, if the car's idling, you just give it a tap like that, and the steering wheel just goes so freaky. That is, if you lose power, you've got the warning light right over there. You can see how beautiful, just beautifully, this car is laid out. Fantastic. Carl, show us some more here.
On
good
the
show.
DS?
Wherever you want.
On the DS?
This is your show, although I'm stealing it all
I
the
think
time.
One thing she forgot to mention is the hood is aluminum.
Yes.
Very lightweight. You got to make sure it's fastened down. I know a couple people who have ruined their hoods.
Isn't the rear deck also aluminum?
No, it isn't.
Okay.
It is steel.
Okay.
I don't know if they were all years, but I know the one on mine is steel. It's a magnet roll. This is another early model. Again, this has a single headlight, but this was a very common accessory that they put on these extra
fog lamps.
lights, the fog lights.
Then we went in, let's go over to the SMs.
What you want to? Here's the later model.
The DS21, yes.
Okay, if you're looking at these cars, for most people, the only significant difference you will see is the headlights. This car has covered headlights and turning headlights. This is a European car. The cars that were sold in the United States were not allowed to have covered headlights or turning headlights. Even though there were some American cars years before that had covered headlights.
Chryslers,
At
yeah.
this time, they were not allowed. Ford had them too.
Yeah.
The inside headlights
okay.
turn with the steering wheel. In the direction you're turning, the light will turn 80 degrees. So you can see the deer around the corner before you hit it. The light on the other side doesn't turn as far because it's just turning right into the body, the headlight system. But other than that, the hydraulics are all pretty much the same.
Beautiful cars. Now, Maserati, yeah. Citroen bought Maserati.
1968. Yes. Citroen was, their cars, the one thing Americans didn't like about the DS series or the D series was that it was underpowered. Right? And I have one that has electronic fuel injection on it. So that boosts the horsepower
Nice.
by about 25. And it makes a considerable difference. So Citroen was looking to produce a GT car, and they were looking for a more powerful engine, which they never produced. And so they came upon Maserati to build an engine. Well, Maserati was in financial difficulty at the time, and so Citroen just bought the company in 1968. They owned it from 68 to 74, I believe is correct. They continued to make all the Maserati engines, but they also, or Maserati models, but the SM has a V6 Maserati engine in it. A lot of people say they just took a Maserati V8 and cut 2 cylinders off, and they did it first when they were experimenting with the engine, but it's a completely new engine for this car. It has all the same hydraulics as the DS. As a matter of fact, all your larger Citroens from them all the way up to 2016 have the oleopneumatic suspension. They've stopped that now. This car right out of the chute, out of the factory, would do 142 miles per hour in 1970.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have never had the pleasure of driving one of these yet. I'm going to get one of my friends someday.
You've got to. Don't drive an automatic, drive a manual, please.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, these have the...
To me, if you're going to have a DS, I want the one with the Citromatic expansion transmission. That doesn't have a clutch.
Yeah.
But if I get one of these, I want to have the stick shift.
Yeah, these are full automatics.
It also has a centering steering mechanism, which I don't completely understand. Perhaps you know more about it than I do. But it tries to keep you going straight down the road.
It's 1.5 turns lock to lock.
Yes.
Total.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes. Yeah, it's like a race car. I mean, you know, you don't have to turn the wheel very far.
No.
And it also has the same thing in the United States. The cars that came into the U.S. had different lights. They weren't covered and they didn't turn.
Let's take a look. I'm going to hop the fence again.
Okay.
These are just... It's got a double overhead cam V6. Oh, you going to pop the hood?
She's doing a video.
Sure.
Some car, northeastern.
Northeastwheelsevents.com, your online
Northeastwheelsevents.com.
calendar of events.
This is Peter Bandy, the proud owner of this SM.
Now this one's a pure European because look at the headlamp arrangements over there.
As this one that we looked at before is also.
Well, a lot of people converted, which was intriguing.
Yes. Yes.
This is one of them.
This is a
Oh, this is a conversion?
Oh yeah, it's got the side marker license.
Okay.
It's American, but soon enough.
There's a lot going on under there.
Yep.
This
There
is
we
Peter
go.
Bandy, the owner.
Hi, Peter. Thank you
doing?
for showing us. You can see the Maserati V6 with the double overhead cams. You had the dual throat Webers, if I remember straight, 3 of them. And then, of course, here again, you've got all of your suspension, the pump. I love the little rubber band belts, rack and pinion steering.
And look how it's driven.
Yeah, the drive with the motor back there, mounted reverse with your clutch in the front, the shaft driving the pump and accessories. Quite intriguing. These cars you really had to know your way around with working on. Yeah, we used to work on these brand new.
No kidding.
Yeah, in fact, there was a recall on the head gaskets, and we got it down to under 7 hours to do the two head gaskets. It's quite remarkable.
I know they were recalled on the oil leak on the valve covers,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
and then they had a tray to put in. I know they had a recall on the shaft.
Oh, the shaft I don't remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
the couplings wasn't
Ah,
strong enough.
I can see that.
What else? What else?
Oh, these things were monsters. They were phenomenal cars. Phenomenal. I just love them. Now, I'm going to give you a rear. What was interesting is the extreme taper of the car. What was really pretty cool was the front brakes. The front disc brakes are huge on these cars. On the back, it's this tiny little disc brake pad. I swear they put it on for just looks, to make sure that they had four-wheel brakes.
One thing we didn't mention about the Citroens, from the traction on up to this car, the width of the wheels, the wheelbase is wider in the front than it is in the back, and that contributes to the streamlining of the car, the aerodynamics.
This is wonderful. Now, of course, we have to cover the 2 chevaux.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you speak of Citroën, you always have to speak of 2 chevaux. That's the 2CV for all of us Yanks.
2 chevaux, chevaux vapeur. I didn't mention that. That CV stands for chevaux vapeur. Chevaux is the word for horses. Vapor is steam. So it's 2 steam horsepower. It was 2 horsepower when it first came out. It eventually got up to 4 CV, but everybody still calls it a 2 chevaux. Right? This is a particularly interesting one. They only made, I think, less than 2,000 of this particular paint job. They are just the most fun car you can possibly imagine. When they have the annual meet in Europe, they get as many as 7,000 2 chevaux at their international meet. And this year, I forgot where it's going to be this year. It's in
Well, look
one
it
of
up.
the Slavic countries.
What was interesting with the 2 chevaux, let's go over some of the history, was that this car was actually designed during the war.
Before the war.
Oh, before?
Yes, it was designed before the war.
Okay.
They had several prototypes, and they hid it from Hitler.
Gotcha.
Right? They did not want him to find out about this car. And it took them some time after the war to find out where those prototypes were. Now, the criteria in developing this car, it was to be a people's car like the Volkswagen of Germany. They wanted, kind of like the Model T of America, they wanted the farmer to be able to have a car. And they said basically a peasant, but in France at that time it pretty much meant farmer.
Right.
And it had to be able to drive across a freshly plowed field with a basket of eggs in the seat and not break any eggs. And believe me, that has been tested hundreds of times since, and it does work. Now, unlike the DS and the SM we were talking about earlier, this does not have the oleo-pneumatic suspension system, but it too has a very unique suspension system. It can't really see it. I don't know if you get it down, you can.
We will.
Along the rocker panel, there's a big cylinder there where a spring in there, and I don't know exactly.
Now that's the exhaust pipe that I'm looking at. Hang on one second.
Yeah, you might be able to see it better on the other side. The springs with the. If you swing around and look at the duct on the other side, you might be able to see that.
Maybe, yeah. Oh yeah, there it is. There it is. Right here, folks. You can see the shock absorber connected up, which is horizontal, to the rear swing arm.
Yeah,
You'll see the one giant spring inside this canister, and it goes to the front. Again, same thing.
And you see where the shock absorbers are.
Yes. They're all horizontal. Let me get up.
This car rides surprisingly well.
They are amazing. They're made extremely, extremely simple because I didn't even know if they'd have a factory left
If you
to build it.
If you want to see some interesting videos about the 2CV and where they can go, they don't just go across freshly plowed fields. They go mud bogging and everything else. You can go online and do a search on YouTube for Citroen 2CV Off-Road.
Uh-huh.
You will see some amazing things. They have races in Europe, just 2CVs.
Oh, I know. Watch one. I'll upload one of the videos onto northeastwheelsevents.com of the Ducheveau races. These are just hilarious. Watching these tin snails race, it is amazing. Now this is a newer car, so it still has some personality, but that top goes all the way back. The seats are removable for a picnic, but of course we have to have a picnic.
Oh, they come right out.
The headlights dim mechanically. You notice the way how they're mounted? There's a lever on the dash which you actually push it forward to dim the lights or make them bright. This is a 2-cylinder flat opposed motor driving again the front wheels for really the ultimate packaging.
Do you know they also made a model of this that was 4-wheel drive?
Yes.
2 engines, one in the front and one in the back.
Yep.
It was made primarily for the African desert. I don't know if it wasn't for the Foreign Legion or what, but the Sahara is the name
The
of it.
Sahara,
Right.
correct. No, Mahara.
No, Sahara.
Sahara.
The Mahari.
Mahari was based
is
off
the,
of.
is the beach buggy.
Yeah, but Mahari also had the 4-wheel drive with the 2 engines. Only 400 were made.
You just taught me something I don't know.
We're having too much fun with this thing.
I did not know that.
These were great. Now, you told me also, you clarified a fact. The Ducheveau was the first production car with
You tell me.
radial tires.
Oh yes, 1948.
1948.
Right out of the factory, it was the first car to come standard with Michelin X radial tires, and that's the trend. That is the original Michelin X tire there. Today purchased from what's her name? Tire company. You know. Now-
Corky?
Pardon?
Corky?
No, not Courtney.
I'll remember in a minute. Yeah.
The Ducheveau had a lot of different names. And one name that escapes me, when I was in the military in France in the early 60s, the GIs called them cigarette rollers because the roll down top reminded them of an old cigarette roller. But they've been called the ugly duckling, they've been called an umbrella on wheels, and many other
Tin snail.
And one thing I didn't point out, the suspension system on the DS's and the SM's, those cars are used even today by film crews to film cars going down the road because they ride so smoothly and so even. Wow. The Ducheveau is also used for that. I saw a film crew recently at the Tour de France, and they were in a 2CV with the top rolled back of the camera.
Oh my gosh.
It would just give them a
Were they able to keep up with the bicycles?
Yes. The 2CV with the 600 and I think it's 600 cc
Yes.
engine basically. You could go down the highway with that car at 65 miles an hour, believe it or not. It's cranking, but people drive them at 65. It's an air-cooled engine.
Yeah.
And you can just run it. It's an incredible vehicle.
Yeah.
And there were...
Yeah, I started out with a Ducheveau on Monday, and by the time Thursday rolled around, I was up to 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, there's actually, I don't know, it's printed somewhere how long it took it to get up to 60 miles an hour, but it is interesting. You know, that's another interesting comparison. On the DS, I don't know if you've ever seen the video by Motor Trend, they're comparing a DS, a 1956 DS, with a Tesla. Right? The DS has been called the most technically advanced car of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They were comparing it with the Tesla for technical innovation, right? And they go through the video first with the DS and then with the Tesla, and they tell all the good points about it. In the end, this isn't exactly what it says, but it basically says, yes, the Tesla will do 0 to 60 in less than 4 seconds, and it takes a Citroen about a week to get there. But when it comes down to technical innovations, the DS has been unsurpassed. Oh, another important thing about that. The day it was introduced, I hear numbers vary a little bit, but basically 800 orders in the first 45 minutes. 12,000 orders by the end of the day, 70,000 orders by the end of the 10-day show, and that is a record that stood until, I'm not sure if it was 2015 or 2016, when Tesla came out with the Model 3, the cheaper Tesla that starts at around 35
Yeah.
grand. But that is a record sales for a newly introduced car that stood for over 60 years.
That's amazing. I love this stuff. Carl, I have to thank you very much. This was quite a excursion
Hope
over
it wasn't
here.
too long.
No, I'm going to break it into 2 videos. No sweat.
Okay.
Cool beans. This is Pam from NortheastWheelsEvents.com at the famous Building Y at the Carlisle Fairgrounds, Carlisle Events. We are at the 2019 Carlisle Imports. For more cool events like this, make sure you check NortheastWheelsEvents.com, SoutheastWheelsEvents.com, UKWheelsEvents.com, and while you're there, post and share your events. I'll see you at the shows.